Thank you.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good evening and welcome to the May 6th meeting of the Scituate Conservation Commission. A couple of quick things to read here. Who do we have in tonight? Right here, Richard, Doug, Penny. I know Jen's not.
Everyone but Jen. That's it.
Okay, great. Good evening. So I'm just going to read this usual spiel. The Town of Scituate's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during our meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there's a disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcome. We ask like our committee members and all that participate commit to these standards and to support and respect our community. And I'm looking for my other spiel. Got it. This meeting is being held virtual as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, the temporary amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. So all that said, we have an agenda. And if I could get a motion.
I just like one add-on, Frank. I want to add me on at the end.
How long?
Huh?
For how much time?
5 minutes at top.
3.
Oh my God.
Hey, you better be nice to me.
Okay.
Got it.
And I am going to also just ask for one little thing about some open space.
How long?
A minute.
Yeah, how long, Frank? I'll be as quick as I can, Frank.
Okay.
I'll make a motion. We accept the agenda with the 2 add-ons, one from Penny, one from Frank.
Great. That's a motion from Penny, a second from somebody.
I'll second that.
From Brendan, all in favor. Richard?
Yep.
Doug?
Yep.
Eric? Yep. And Frank, yes. Great, thank you. Okay, we're going to start out with 262, 276 CJ and 0 CJC, which was continued. I think this is somebody from LLC, maybe.
I'm looking to see if they're here. I have a long list. If you're here and want to raise your hand, that would help me. Otherwise,
Did they know they had to be on?
well, there we are.
Oh,
Thank you.
Kevin. Wow, we get the big cheese.
All right, Kevin, you are unmuted.
Okay, thanks. I don't see Mark Manganello on the attendees list.
No, I do not either.
I was thinking he would join, but maybe he got hung up. But I can go over the changes. They're pretty straightforward compared to what we talked about at the last meeting. Based on your request to revisit the.
I'm sorry, who do we have on?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Kevin McCaffrey, civil engineer with Woodard and Curran.
Thank you, Kevin.
Another Kevin McCaffrey? Or Kevin
Not
Kern.
as opposed to Cafferty.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry.
We're family from way back, I guess. Yeah. So the last time we were in front of you, we talked about the plan for this area, and we brought up the concept of demolishing the asphalt around the building. And you questioned that and asked us to take another look at that. So we talked with the folks with the water department, and they, I think, had some internal conversations within the town staff. And at this point, we're going to leave the entire ring road around the building. All that asphalt's going to stay in place. So we're just going to pull the building and restore that area, and then the area to the bottom of the screen down in the buffer. That will all be restored as we had proposed last time. So the only real change is that the asphalt that was going to be pulled and loamed and seeded is now going to stay in place.
Okay.
for the ball field, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just because this has been bantered back and forth a couple times. The area where the building is being removed, I think we requested that that get loamed and seeded and a few trees planted in there.
Yeah, and I guess the way that that sort of ended up is the proposal right now is to loam and seed that area. But the water department is reluctant to do any tree planting because what they're being told is that this area may be used for a future project. And I guess there's some discussion and planning for that that's in the works. So they didn't want to do a bunch of planting that may get pulled out in a few years.
Okay. All right, well, let's go through our members here. Thank you, Kevin.
Sure.
Penny?
No, I don't have any. My big concern was the driveway for the baseball field, for parking for that. And, yeah, maybe we'll have to see about what the town wants to do with that. Where they're gonna seed, I don't know what to say on that. Whether we can't force them, can we, to put trees in?
Well, we can
Okay.
request what we think is important there.
And then they might let us know what they are thinking, maybe, I don't know.
Well, let's keep moving.
Yeah, I'm all set. I
Okay.
was concerned about the driveway.
All right, Doug?
Yeah, I probably missed a whole lot of discussion about this. So I don't want to make people repeat themselves. I was just like, it seems like you were going to remove the pavement and now they're not. And I'm wondering why you didn't want them to remove the pavement.
So when they came in with this, their plan was to remove the building and the pavement and do restoration as well as like the back area closer to the pond where they have their I guess they call them drying beds or some of the filter.
Yep, I see
Remove
that.
some of that.
Yeah.
But that access and that parking is also for the ball field.
There's a ball field there.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, on
Oh,
3A.
no kidding. Oh, I
Yeah.
see that baseball field. Huh.
So it seemed like not a great idea to not have any parking so we pointed that out. They made those changes.
Gotcha. So that we're leaving that so people can access and park with the ball field without building something new.
Correct.
Well, we don't want them on 3A.
And the only thing that we were looking
Mm.
in addition was where the building's going to be removed, that get loamed and seeded, and we thought a few trees planted in there. I know that there's discussion about other things, but that was part of the discussion that we had the other night. So we'll roll through.
Are all the utilities going to remain in place and just discontinued?
Kevin, can you elaborate on that? Well, Lauren, just if you want to state who you are. There's a
Hi.
Lauren. Right, yep.
Hi. Yeah, Lauren Frank with Woodard and Curran. I'm the project manager for this project. So yeah, we're disconnecting electric to this building. But the other buildings on site, as you see off to the left of the screen, those buildings are going to be remained and repurposed. So
Okay, so all
we're just demolishing this building. Yeah.
yeah, there's
big
drainage, yeah, there's drainage, utilities, all kinds of stuff. So all that's just gonna kind of stay put for now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, so I know we were trying to keep the driveway for the ball field, but now we're keeping what's behind the building as well. Is the loading dock being removed? That's not showing here as something that's part of what's being demolished. So I guess the question kind of is what's happening with that part of that asphalt then, if we're keeping it, or we have to repair that, or is it not being removed, or what?
The loading dock will be demoed. We can correct that. Just the pavement will be staying.
And then in the loading docks place will be loam and seed around the pavement.
Yes.
Okay.
Eric?
Yes, so I guess my comment is relative to the vegetation. I understand town has potential plans to redevelop the site. And trees just don't make sense if that's the case. But rather than turf grass seed, would concession be made to put a wildflower seed mix in instead, reduce mowing inputs as well? And if trees are not suitable for that location, could we see the installation of some trees elsewhere on site? I suppose that's it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Are you looking for me to respond? We can certainly
Sure.
put a wildflower mix. Yeah, I mean, we could talk to Kevin and DPW about planting trees elsewhere. I'm not sure on the site where that would be. There is, you know, a very large cost that goes along with this project. And at this point, we're not even sure that we can award this. This is an alternate to the bid, is demoing this plant. So Kevin's just very sensitive to the costs added to this project as well.
Frank, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Eric, are you good for the moment? We'll circle
Yeah,
back.
for the moment.
Richard, I missed out.
No, you didn't miss out. I'm fine. I'm glad of the changes. I think Eric's idea for the wildflower is a nice idea. I would wonder if the town thinks they're going to come back at a later date to repurpose. Is it possible to put a time frame for at least an update on that so that we know what they're going to do or what they think they're going to do down the road, or would they just come back to us at that time?
They'd come back to us.
Yeah, I think the plan is to come back because they're unsure of what this space is going to be used for.
All right. Otherwise, I'm good, Frank, for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jen?
She's not with us.
Jen, our agent.
I think we can add anything to the orders that we want to, but they're keeping the access and keeping the driveway.
Yeah. That's big.
Do we have anybody in the audience? Okay. So sort of a little bit of a sidebar to this. We have had a little discussion with DPW. They did come back, realize that they shouldn't be removing the asphalt because of the parking and also thinking about what they might want to do for their space, but they want to include this building in their budgeting and hopefully, I think as they pointed out, they're concerned about budgets in general, but do want to condition the removal of the building. So, and I think we're all on agreement with that. And then the area that's closer to the pond is the area that they want to restore, which I think is a good idea. That's really the most sensitive area, what's in the 50 and the 100. So to Eric's point, I don't think there's any reason that we can't request trees, and I know that they're concerned about costs. We just saved them a boatload of money by not ripping up the asphalt that they had shown in the earlier plan.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's unreasonable that I do think all of this is going to come in, be in play as things move forward. And you got to realize that plant can't get torn down until the new plant's up and built. So that's years away before we're really going to see anything happen there. But I think if we have something in our orders that request some more vegetation, and I think what we had on our minds at the other discussion is where the new plant is being built, there's a considerable amount of trees being cut down for that plant. We're not even going to come anywhere near to being able to restore all those trees, and it just seemed like a reasonable request to do some additional planting, and I don't think it's inappropriate for us to put some of that in our orders. We're not looking for
Good thinking.
a whole forest, but I do think there's that area that is gonna get restored, and hopefully that wouldn't be altered again. That'll remain a decent buffer to the pond,
Yeah,
but it's no reason why I can't have some trees in it.
yeah, at least
Like the idea.
closer to the pond, Frank. I mean, it's
So-
ridiculous to say.
I don't know if we want to pick a number. They don't have to necessarily have a plan, but whether we have a number of 20 trees or something, they don't have to be huge. They have plenty of time to grow.
Yeah,
Eric, just picking on Eric because
yeah.
I wanted to.
Yeah,
Okay.
looking at the final square footage, we can come up with a decent number that I think is reasonable. And depending on the size of the tree sourced, at the time of the remediation, I think that cost can be mitigated. Specific wetland species as well can be sourced. They'll thrive in those environments down there. So, yeah, I don't see why something in the conditions, would be cost prohibitive if we followed that route.
Kevin, you want?
Yeah, I just want to ask, would you be amenable to transplanting from the new treatment plant site to this site?
Transplanting?
We'd obviously need to, determine what species you want and what's available and those kinds of things.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, something we could work out. That would be I think at the end of the day, they'll probably figure out it's cheaper to just buy some trees or
Some
whatever.
young
but-
ones, yeah.
But
Yeah, I think you're right.
But whatever, I mean, we're
sure.
certainly, I think if we just put in that we'd like to see not only grass planted out, but that there should be some trees in those areas. Oh, you know what? Is the fence gonna get removed, Kevin? The fence that would be enclosed in that old lagoon?
Yes, the fencing down and the buffer, that'll all get pulled out of there. Yep.
Okay.
No, it's to keep the geese and swan out.
Well, it's a deep hole, so
Yeah.
it's not
No, I know.
it's not
I know.
pretty.
I guess all I would ask on this, if this is going to be in a condition, is there's some mechanism to get to an agreement, to have a discussion about this at a later date and everybody get
Sure.
comfortable with what's going to happen. So.
Yep. No, I think it's like I say, it's a long ways out, and as long as we have adequate verbiage in our thing to be looking for some revegetation and whatnot, not only just some grass, but something substantial there, and how it gets done, we can figure that out.
Oh.
All right.
So do you need a motion?
I would
You
like.
ready?
Yep.
I make a motion, we close.
I'll second it.
That's second from Richard. All in favor, Doug?
Yeah, I do see a hand.
What's that?
I
That's
do see a
Kevin.
hand.
Kevin's hand is up.
Kevin's got a hand.
No, he put it down.
Yeah,
Okay, but yes, then to your motion.
Okay, so we got Doug, yes, Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes.
do you want to vote to issue as well?
Sure.
I make a motion to issue.
It's Penny, second,
Sure, Richard.
Richard, all in favor, Doug,
Yes,
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great. We're gonna leave it up to Jen to duke that out with the DPW.
Ha
All
ha.
right.
All right. Thank you very much. 19 Woodworth.
All right. All right, we have, I think, a few people. Anybody who's on for this one, if you want to raise your hand so I can find you, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right, Brendan
And Jeff
and Jeff.
And Brian.
and Brian. Yep, the three of us. That should be it.
There's 4 of you.
Well, that's Art Allen was the peer reviewer for us.
Mhm.
We need our,
No, you don't.
Frank, I think
Danny.
you're muted.
Again, sorry. You left me those really crunchy cookies, so I've been.
Oh, geez.
So who would like to start?
Okay,
Um,
I'll just go. Jeff DeLisi, Orenberger, DeLisi, and Harris, on behalf of the applicant. I'm just gonna, I know you guys have a jammed agenda. Just gonna give it to Brendan. Brendan filed a revised plan that took into account many of the concepts that were discussed at the last meeting. We had some mitigation. We moved the house a little further from the resource area. We had some infiltration from the roof. Less impervious area and so forth. So Brendan, why don't you let
Sure.
them know?
Yep. So as Jeff said, we reduced the size of the house, we rotated it to get it right up against that 15-foot setback line to the property line. So now the closest point to the resource area is 62.5 feet. Like I said, rotated it, made it smaller. We've also reduced the area of the driveway. We made most of it now gravel. We made the turning area in front of the garage and the driveway apron out in front of the street the only 2 paved areas. On the downslope of those paved areas, I do have a stone trench to help with as a non-structural BMP for treatment and attenuation and infiltration. Also added a subsurface infiltration system 10 by 12 in the back of the house for the roof leaders. And we've also proposed 3,100 square feet of mitigation plantings in lieu of the approximately, I think we're about 2,900 square feet of impervious within the 100-foot buffer. So the only work in the 50-foot buffer is just to enhance some of that buffer, which kind of straddles the 50 and the 100 in that area that's hatched there in a brown. And then we've also added as well conservation posts spaced about every 25 feet along the 50-foot buffer to ensure that no further cutting happens in that area. And I think that was about it. I also added a supplemental a diagram showing the flow and how it doesn't impact the development over at Northerly Farm Road. Even though we are up gradient of that, Northerly Farm Road really, that runoff heads off over to,
Good job, Scotty.
Cornet Stetson over on 123 as opposed to Old Oaken Bucket, which is where the runoff from this heads up to. So, with that, I'll open up for questions or comments.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jeff, you want to add any more to that?
No, I'm fine. I'm sorry, guys. I thought I was on mute and I was talking to someone. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Jen Smith, do you want to comment first on this one? You've been.
Yeah, so we asked about if it had been filed with DEP since it's our peer reviewer found it to be bordering vegetated wetland.
That it has been filed with DEP. We don't have a number yet, but it has been filed.
Okay.
so without a number, we couldn't close, could we?
No.
No.
No, we should wait for a number.
Yeah, okay, I just want that clear. in the
Can I
beginning.
add one thing? Sorry.
Yep. Who's this?
Sorry, this is just one quick thing. We're at the
Brian, it's tough to hear you.
markers.
Brian?
Sorry.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So I just wanted to add that we're more than happy to add clearing work to be any, buffer, if that would please the board.
Brian, we didn't hear much of that.
I'm sorry, Brian, that's really garbled. Actually, maybe for a minute, can we have Art on for this one? Let's look this over. Can we get a comment from Art?
Yeah, sure. Art Allen from Ecotech, peer review wetland scientist for the commission. Yeah, I mean, it looks like they've addressed essentially all of my concerns in my March 30th, 2024 comment memo. The isolated wetland is now properly designated as bordering. They've filed with DEP, so they'll get a file number. I found the wetland limits to be accurate in the field. They've addressed the stormwater runoff issue.
He likes.
Jeff, I think you're
My
unmuted.
bad. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so yeah, they've increased their setbacks. The only other comment I'd have on this new plan is that this mitigation area, if that's only proposed for seed mix, I mean, as some of you may be aware, that's a dense overstory pine forest. And I mean, to even get, yeah, it's going to be too shady for a wildflower seed mix in there. I mean, to even get it seeded, you'd need to tear up the whole forest floor and expose the soil. So I don't think a seed mix is really appropriate for that area. I mean, that, you know, there is some deadfall in there. Once they clean that up, they might expose some open areas. And I would suggest, you know, more like understory shrubs like huckleberry or low bush blueberry would be, you know, they have high habitat value. They grow in the understory. That would be more appropriate for mitigation plantings than a seed mix. But that would be the only other comment I'd have. Thank you.
Thanks, Art. Appreciate that thought. Brendan, do you get yourself in a better spot, do you think, or
Brian,
Brian.
Brian rather? Sorry.
He might not. He's our town meeting just started at 6:30 and he's selectman presenting. So, but I think what he was getting at was that he's more than happy to put out markers at the 50-foot buffer, or even like a silt fence, a construction fence, to ensure that no construction or anything or any debris gets in the 50-foot buffer.
Okay,
I think that's what he was trying to get across.
got it. And you've noted the Art's comment on the trees.
Yep. So actually I did, you know, I asked Brad Holmes about what he thought, and he was the one that came up with the idea of like kind of straddling, because even though there is some understory there wasn't a lot of, you know, understory brush there in that area. So that'd be a good area to mitigate. You know, with the clearing of the trees, there will be some more light getting in there. You know, so but I could get together with Brad Holmes and maybe come up with an idea of some different type of mitigation if that pleases the board.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd want a planting plan anyway.
Okay. Richard?
Yeah, what I just said is we'd want a planting plan anyway before we signed off on anything. But otherwise, I kind of appreciate the changes that were made. They needed to be made, and I think they've done a decent job.
Okay. Doug?
Yep. My only question was just what was heavily talked about, and I didn't know what was, I wasn't here for the original presentation, so my question was just going to be what is existing in the area now that's being proposed as mitigation. So you've covered all that, so I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Penny?
Yeah, my only concern is, because I've seen it happen way too many times, somebody this close to the 50-foot buffer, couple of years down the road, they start encroaching into the 50-foot buffer with their yard. I really, at that, just above where the house is, how it dips in towards the house, I would definitely want some markers or a post and rail fence there. Because I've seen it happen way too many times. That then we go out there and they've gone into the 50-foot and it's lawn out there. That would be my only comment, because I think they did a great job at turning things around.
Okay,
Well,
Thank
we
you.
can, we can certainly, space those markers together a little closer over in that area there, Penny. I got
Yeah.
no issue with that. And that, so that this house is for the parents of the gentleman who's buying who's wants to move into the main house. This is kind of like an in-law house, not an in-law, his parents' house, more or less. So,
I understand that, but
but
when things happen, people,
oh yeah, I know. But
yeah,
my point is that the lawn area they'll want to reduce that as much as possible because they don't want to be mowing it as much as they
Yeah.
want to. So it'll be a smaller, modest house with a modest lawn as well. So
yeah. But maybe the next owner, you don't know. We just, I've seen it happen way too many times. That somebody comes in and the next thing we know, the buffer there, it's a big
yeah,
yard.
no,
Yeah.
understood. That's why we have the post like every 25 feet. So
Okay,
that's
thank you
and
very much.
we can certainly tighten them up around the house itself.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
thanks, Penny. Brendan?
Okay, so I like that the house has moved away from the 50 and, that's good. I like that. I wish there wasn't a paved portion of the driveway. Uh, but, so that, and then to clarify, this mitigation area, will all the trees be cleared from it? Are we clearing into is that proposed? Or are you gonna be clearing trees in the 50?
No, the idea is to kind of supplement what's there, as Art said, and I believe Brad made the point too, that there wasn't a lot of understory growth in there, so that's what we're trying to enhance there. The idea is not to clear that area and put, the wildflower seed mix or anything in there. It's really kind of supplement what's there, maybe grub a little, around some of the shrubs out of there, if there are any at all. If not, it would just be, taking up some of the leaf litter and planting, what we can in there. So the idea isn't to clear. Now, some of that area will be cleared outside the 50-foot buffer, because we have our sewer pipe going through there, but we could probably even push that a little bit further away from the 50-foot buffer as well to avoid some trees and stuff. But so outside the 50-foot buffer, there may be some trees taken down, but not inside, no.
Okay, but you are clearing everything within the limit of work here.
Yes.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
most likely,
Hmm.
yeah. And we might leave what we can on the, as you go up the driveway on that, right-hand side along the property line. But for the most part, yeah, we get the septic, between the septic system, utilities, driveway, house, most of it's gonna be cleared.
Yeah.
Okay. Derek?
Yeah, thank you. Not to continue beating at the same drum, but just a couple questions on the mitigation area, or maybe a comment first. Any attempt to reduce the amount of trees removed within the mitigation area, I think would be greatly appreciated. And the second question, or rather the second point, which is a question, relative to dead and fallen material within that mitigation area. Obviously, outside of safety concerns, anything that is a safety concern should be addressed. But anything beyond that, I'm wondering if you consider leaving just for habitat resource area as it regards to birds, insects, and amphibians, especially things that, would dwell within or underneath some of the fallen material. And as Art said, just, the supplemental mitigation measures with understory plants, I think is a great idea. Those are really my three things.
Okay. Jen Smith?
I think my questions were answered. I just need the proof of DEP being notified and the number before we do anything else.
Okay.
What are your questions, Frank?
No, I think those were good points that are made, and I'm just wondering, it seems like for the most part, we're satisfied. Brendan brought up the issue of less pavement. I guess typically we do put we actually encourage like an entry area to have a little bit of pavement
From the road.
from the road, and I know why people want to put it for around their driveway and whatnot. I don't know if there could be a slight reduction
Mhm.
in the asphalt would be helpful. And then just wondering the best way to come up with a planting plan. Seems like, Art's got an idea on some of this. Brad has a little different idea. Eric's added some additional thoughts on that. Just wondering if we could come up with a plan that everyone was okay with.
Yeah, if I could, Frank, Art Allen, I know Brad is certainly capable of coming up with a nice planting plan, and maybe he could draft something and circulate it in draft form for comment, just taking into consideration the concerns that were raised.
Yeah,
That's a good idea. Can we get that, either Jeff or Brendan?
Yeah, certainly. I'll contact Brad and see what he recommends there.
If you could give him the feedback between Art and Eric,
Yeah,
on that and see if we can't come up with something on that. And if you guys can look at that pavement and see if maybe you can shrink it a little bit more.
yeah, we could probably reduce that. As you said, you like making that maneuver out of your garage. You like to have that paved because otherwise it just, the tire tracks get dug up and it just promotes for more, more siltation flow towards the wetlands and the obviously the apron up at the street. We got a sidewalk crossing there, so we have to, maybe reduce that a little bit. I mean, most of that is outside the 100-foot buffer anyway, but yeah, we can maybe reduce that the paved portion up by the house.
Okay.
Take a look at our planting plan. That sounds
Great.
like the 2 points we have outstanding in a DEP number, of course.
Yep. Jen, can we continue this to our next meeting so they can get it moved along?
Yes.
You think? So we're gonna look for a continuation till the 20th, right?
To May 20th.
May 20th. So I'll make a motion, Frank.
And do we have
Wait a minute, how
anybody in
about
the
the
audience?
audience? Yeah.
Oh,
My
yeah.
apologies. Was there anybody in the audience for this one?
Oh,
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay.
okay, so I'll make a motion to continue 19 Woodworth Lane to May 20th.
It's a motion from Penny. Do we have a second?
A second.
From Eric, all in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes,
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a request to continue Lot A, Booth Hill Road to June 3rd.
Thank you.
Yeah, I make a motion, we continue Lot A, Booth Hill Road,
Left field, short left.
June 3rd.
Hey, Jeff
Nice
DeLisi,
Mute yourself, dear.
stifle yourself. Um,
I think it's the kids running around.
I'm glad he's been able
You
to
said-
multitask.
it sounds like he's coaching.
Anyways, I made the motion to continue to,
Do I have a second?
Yeah, second, Doug.
Second
Yeah.
from Doug, all in
Yeah, I
favor, Richard,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great.
Edward
181
Foster.
Edward Foster Road. And we have who is presenting? We have
We have,
Attorney Brodsky.
Yep, I'm unmuting Adam Brodsky. Anyone else I should unmute?
Ms. Smith, would you unmute Rick Grady, please?
Oh,
Mind?
I can- I'm not seeing him. Can he raise his hand? That would help me.
Text him and ask him.
We see Adam, but
Rick, if you're on there, Rick Grady, can you put your hand up?
Not seeing him.
mm-mm.
The best laid plans.
That's
Well, good evening. I don't want to
No.
waste your time this evening. I know that you've got a full agenda. My name is Adam Brodsky. I'm a local environmental and land use lawyer, and I represent Tim and Laura White. Rick Grady is our registered professional engineer, and John Zimmer is our wetland scientist. I knew that John was not available this evening, but was expecting Rick. Ms. Smith provided us with a list of questions this afternoon, which Rick is prepared to respond to. I hope he's not having problems and explains his absence, but I wanted to discuss briefly, with your permission, Chair Snow, just a concern that the clients raised. You'll remember that we received Mr. Allen's proposal for peer review. We have absolutely no concerns regarding Mr. Allen's qualifications or the dollar value of the proposal. But we wanted to confirm the geographic scope of the review and had requested confirmation that Mr. Allen was going to review the project area and no other portions of this property. And certainly some of the commissioners understand that the clients have concerns regarding the history of the site. There were issues concerning the western portion of the property, which were addressed in 2015, which are not located within the proposed project area, and they're identified on the site plan as that 15,500 square foot restoration area on the west of the property, western portion of the property. That issue was resolved in 2015 with the issuance of 2 certificates of compliance. And I'll keep this very short. There were 2 outstanding orders of conditions, one issued in 2003 and one issued in 2007. The 2007 order required a vegetation mitigation plan for previous work on the site. And in 2015, the Whites came before you. And essentially the commission approved an alternative, a wetlands restoration proposal that was approved by the Conservation Commission, which did a couple of things, one of which essentially conceded that area that was the subject of the wetlands restoration proposal was isolated vegetated wetland. And then that permitted the Whites to be able to mow the remaining portion of their property, which was grass. This has been historically lawn for decades. In any event, the issue was resolved in 2015 with the issuance of the orders of conditions. And so candidly, we don't want to revisit anything with respect to the western side of the property. And we're looking for agreement with the Conservation Commission that Mr. Allen would focus his attention on the southern portion of the property where the project is being proposed. We had identified, and Mr. Zimmer had identified, work is occurring within buffer zone to coastal beach and coastal dune, as well as land subject to coastal storm flowage. When we met out the site like more than a month ago, and Mr. Allen was present, he suggested that based upon the limited soil borings he did with his auger, that he believed that that area may also be a vegetated wetland. And that's a perfectly legitimate discussion to have with respect to the project area. And Mr. Zimmer is prepared to work with Mr. Allen on that. I mean, we maintain that even if it's IBW, obviously would not be jurisdictional under the State Wetlands Protection Act, other than the fact that, I mean, we are within buffer zones. So let me, the IBW itself would not be jurisdictional, would be subject to your local bylaw, but we believe that this project would be permissible under your local bylaw. And so I was just hoping to get in front of this issue and try and resolve it before the Whites authorized the approval of the proposal from Mr. Allen. And I did speak to Ms. Smith about this, and she communicated to me that the commission was unwilling to, I guess, have this conversation or some variation of that. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but again, we'd like to move forward. We'd like to have Mr. Allen review the wetland. We'd like to work with Mr. Allen to make sure that our delineation is accurate. So then we can focus on your performance standards. As you know, for the members who were out there, during the last storm, we have a very serious flooding condition caused by water coming off neighboring properties. This is not coastal flooding that needs to be addressed. We're concerned that the condition is only going to get worse and potentially threaten the house. So we'd like to resolve it as soon as possible. So with that, I've droned on a little bit too long. Again, we're simply looking for agreement that Mr. Allen focus on the area where the project is and not these other areas of the property which have been previously addressed. Thank you.
So do we know if Rick is available or is he not? I think
I don't see him on here. I just sent him an email with the info to get in, just in case that helped.
And thank you. I just texted him also. I hope he's all right. We discussed and he knew that we were on the agenda for this evening. So.
all right.
And I should say, if we know that we need to continue because obviously we need to get Mr. Allen on site. What we can do is we are prepared to address many of Ms. Smith's questions. I'm not likely the best person to do that. So for the next public hearing, we'll make sure that we've answered all of her questions, and some of which would require some additional detail provided on the site plans.
Okay. So Adam, the only, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here if other members don't mind. As you pointed out, there's been multiple projects on this site. There's been enforcement orders, there's been restoration work, there's been work to the house, filings. And I think the concern that a couple of the members have, at least members that have served for a long time, is that there was to be restoration in some of these areas. And I know I've met with the Whites out there. They've showed us that they tried to plant some areas and then the plants died and they were fighting Phragmites. But I think one of the big concerns for commission members is that a lot of the lawn, a lot of that area was supposed to be some sort of restored area and it's essentially become a lawn. And we know that it's wet and we know that the Whites need relief from some of that drainage. There's been development around them. They made a good point about that. And I think we want to work with them in terms of helping them mitigate some of the runoff that they're getting onto their property. And we appreciate that. We've also, I think, moved ahead and gave them some orders so that they could start their renovation work and not have to be held up on that sort of thing. But I think that's one of the reasons that we'd like to be able to review this site is because there is concerns that earlier orders, although you can point out that they have certificates of compliance, I think that they were vegetated differently at the time that they got those orders. And I think that site has been changing And I think that's part of, I don't think it's unreasonable for us to look at that whole site in considering a different project.
Chair Snow, I'm going to respectfully disagree. You evaluated this issue in 2015. I can present you all of the documents that you reviewed, including Brad Holmes' summary of events and his certification. The restoration was done several times. We had satisfied the condition in the orders with respect to survivability. I'm not sure that's a word, but the survival rate, we had satisfied you. And you had issued a certificate of compliance indicating that all of those conditions had been met. The fact that the vegetation died subsequently doesn't open up the door to reevaluate that section. Again, I have my own amateur's view of that western side, which is that there are indicators of wetland hydrology because of those unusual soils relating to dredging. But fundamentally, we don't have the hydrology to actually support real wetland vegetation, which had been planted there. But I don't think the commission's got any legal right based on that certificate of compliance to revisit that issue. And I should say that the clients are feeling a little bit, and again, I don't want to overstate. The clients are very grateful to the commission for allowing them to continue to work on their house renovation project. But we're guessing that these conditions that you see on their property are present on other neighboring properties, and there have been other projects that have been improved in the neighborhood without this level of scrutiny. And I'm specifically talking about this deep dive into soils. And so they're starting to feel a little bit singled out for special treatment here. Again, they had to address the fact that they never got certificates of compliance with respect to the 2003 and 2007 orders of remissions. So they own that. But they fixed that problem to the point where this commission felt comfortable issuing COCs, which closed it out. So, that's I think the commission is going a bit too far by wanting to reevaluate the western side of the property. And the clients are going to be resistant to that.
Frank, I will say I did send them about a list of questions that I had that weren't related necessarily to the wetland, but to other calculations and details about the coastal bank and, effect of the project on the dune.
Okay, and that was,
I just
issues-
sent that today. So those
Okay.
were just questions that weren't, the answers weren't obvious to me on the plan. So that's why I asked them.
And again, I'm so sorry. I discussed the issue with Mr. Grady this afternoon. He was prepared to answer most of those questions. I just don't know where he is.
Sure. Can we, because we do have other things to do, and we're hoping not to make this a late night. Nobody else has had a chance to speak, and we should at least go through our members. And then, I guess we'll look to continue. So, Richard?
Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking. If we can't get answers to the questions that were asked, we can't really move very far ahead. So, if we've got to continue it and get the answers, I'm sure the whites would like to move ahead, and I don't blame them, but we need answers to all of this first.
Thank you, Richard. Doug?
I'm feeling quite ignorant on this project. Did I miss all the presentation? I know there's letters, there was a cease and desist, and there's letters in my file. I'm trying to even find a copy of this plan, but I feel like honestly, I need to be, not now, but brought up to speed on this a little bit. Somebody can educate me on all these different orders, conditions and certificate of compliance. I think I'm missing the describe it to me like I'm 6-year-old.
And again, Chair Snell,
Section of this.
there are no outstanding enforcement orders. The two outstanding orders of conditions were resolved, almost 10 years ago, 2014, 2015. I don't think they're relevant to this discussion. This is just a notice of intent for this drainage system and maintenance of the driveway. And so I'm trying to kind of avoiding reopening that wound, which is why we just wanted to focus
So-
Mr. Allen on this. I know that Mr. Grady is just he is logging in, so he can be available to address very briefly Ms. Smith's points if you wish to hear from him, or we can submit that in writing if we've used up our allotted time.
No, I'm okay with at least Rick's. We're going to be continuing it anyways, but let's if
So this
I-
project is, I'm sorry, Frank,
Yeah.
this project is to build this drainage system.
That's
that-
correct, Mr. Mayor.
Handles the roof runoff? Is that what that's mostly for? And the driveway
No,
itself?
no, there's stormwater that runs down Edward Foster Road and off of neighboring properties that collects. This is the lowest point in the neighborhood. And
Yeah.
so it's simply an infiltration system. As the commissioners saw, you can have a foot of two of water there. And we're just trying to infiltrate that water. The site is behind the coastal beach, and there's a small coastal dune, and that's the delineation you see here. Again, John Zimmer did not identify this area as isolated vegetated, as an isolated vegetated wetland, but that was a suggestion of Mr. Allen. And again, we're ready to have Mr. Allen, examine the work area, the project site. We just are not agreeable to allowing him, carte blanche to walk the rest of the property and, use his auger and look for things, particularly on the western side, which had been resolved in 2015. And apparently Mr. Grady is getting an error message trying to log in, so there's some technical problem he's having. Sorry about that.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself and I will.
And I'm gonna move on to some other members. Okay. Doug, and Adam, just so you're aware, when we went out there, I think it was Penny, myself, Art, Jen, was that it?
Yep.
If I forgot anybody. And
No.
it happened to be a really rainy, just lots of water. And the applicant's driveway was just getting inundated, and a lot of it was coming either down the driveway or from abutting properties and filling their driveway with water. And they've been dealing with that for a long time, and they're trying to come up with a solution to deal with that. And this is the solution that they've proposed. So that's what we're looking at here. But as Jen said, there's also these other resource areas that we're concerned about. I think if Rick's not ready to comment, I'd just like to give the courtesy of each member a chance to say something. But
Yeah, sure. But thanks, Frank. That honestly, that does kind of catch me up. But I mean, when anybody and anytime they go out and look at a site, our consultants look at a site, they look beyond the immediacy of the work area. They always look off-site wetlands, connecting wetlands, like all those kind of things is typical. I'm not
right.
The only thing I'm not left following why such a resistance. But I'll move on to someone else because
okay. Penny?
No, I can't comment. Thank you.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, hi. So I know there's a history here, and we're looking at this particular project, and it involves. Was there a previous NOI
Yep.
that was beyond this question of the west side thing that was then?
Mr. Collins, that's correct. There was a prior design that involved a lot more elements, including walls and things like that, and that notice of intent was withdrawn. And then you have now a new team that's come in to propose, again, a very focused project to address the flooding condition.
All right, so, but there's there another one? Because I was just wondering, does this project include, are we also trying to discuss the change in elevation of the lawn?
No, again,
Did we already discuss that in the previous NOI?
I can't speak to the prior NOI. I'm sorry. I think there was a discussion of fill being brought in and changes in elevations. I don't think that's the case here. We're not proposing to bring anything in. We're just creating essentially an infiltration basin.
Okay, because I remember I had been out there once with Amy. And I don't know what, but I guess that was to the last NOI, and I was just wondering, because the lawn had been, yeah, if you look at it, it had been altered and elevated. And I don't know, I guess was that a previous?
I mean, historically, the house is elevated on a slight hill that slopes down towards the coastal dune, and it's at that lowest point where we're proposing to put this infiltration basin.
Right, but there was a change in elevation since 2020.
I
don't remember us-
I can't speak to that. I don't think there's been any change in elevation approved by the commission. And
No, yeah, that's why I'm wondering if this was
It
part of it.
wasn't approved.
I don't think there's been any change in elevation. Ms.
Well,
Williams.
if you go to Google Earth or Near Map, it's there. It's clear. So anyway, I was just wondering if that was part of this or if that's not included.
No.
I
So
think they
we're-
have some
we're-
other changes I think there's some changes on this one. I think maybe what you're referring to is there was some storm damage, some trees that came down and something in
right along
that
the house,
timing.
about like 30 yards out, there's like a berm built
Mm,
when I went
Okay.
out with Amy.
I think you may be talking about, I know that the neighbors to the east built a berm off our site to try and block water.
No, this is right,
No.
like, it's almost like a patio of lawn.
Mhm.
If you, I mean, I can't show you what I'm looking at, but actually I'm looking at the overhead. And I was just wondering if that's included in this or not. Because I
can't
remember
answer-
talking about it for the previous NOI with Amy was there and the owner. Yeah, all right.
Okay, well, I think we're gonna have to, I'm assuming we still don't have Rick.
We do.
Oh.
Rick is in.
All right,
Sorry about that, guys. I had a hard time getting in.
okay. So I think we've determined we're gonna have to continue this, but didn't know if we could just sort of bring things, kind of kick the ball ahead a little bit here tonight. If you want to comment on some of the things, I know this was short notice from Jen, so if you'd prefer to do that at the next meeting, Rick, that's fine.
We're not
I
deciding.
don't mind going over the items here if it helps a little bit. So I see here there was a request to submit a cross-section of slope regarding the coastal bank. We'll be glad to do that. That's easy to do. Obviously, I can't give that to you this evening. There's a comment that the contour line 5 just past the flagged coastal bank is darkened. Is that proposed work? I didn't really understand that question.
Well, so the other dark lines, I assume were change in grades. I wasn't quite sure why this line was dark. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any work out there.
Okay, there is no work proposed out there. I can check to see why that one's a little bit darker,
Okay.
but there's no, yeah,
And you'll send
definitely
cross
no-
sections for the coastal bank.
yes.
Rick,
and-
as long as Jen brought that up, so contours 10, 9, and 8, is that proposed to be regraded?
It is. We'd like to smooth that off just so that it flows more evenly towards the proposed low area.
Okay. Thank you.
You can see
okay,
some of
okay.
those were, yeah.
If you want to keep going on the list, that had come into question before.
Okay. Yeah, we're glad to add the VE zone to the plan. It is outside the limit of work, closer to the water body, but we'll be glad to answer that or add that. We can give you a calculation on the amount of material being removed. Can drainage calculations be submitted to show this infiltration area can handle what is being directed to it? This is more of a volume analysis than a capacity analysis. We're trying to take a volume of what's currently inundating the lawn there so that it can maintain that lawn in a fashion that'll keep the Phragmites from coming back and putting as much of that volume in the ground as we can. So I think the analysis that we're probably looking to do there is to give you the volume capacity of the proposed infiltration area and give you a sense of how much ponding that will remove from the surface. So I think it's really a volume analysis we're looking to do there. Is there a reason pervious pavers or a pervious surface is not being considered for the driveway? I believe part of the easement agreement is he's supposed to maintain that as a hardened surface. We can talk a little bit about what that means or doesn't mean, or try to get better answer on the easement language for you. Is there a maintenance plan for the drainage system proposed? We'll be glad to provide a maintenance plan. Construction staging area. We can certainly add that to the plan as well. And we can also find a detail for the flagpole as well. So yeah, I think all of these items are pretty straightforward. We're glad to address them primarily on a revised plan.
Okay. Thank you. I got as far as Brendan. Eric, did you want to comment on anything? Thank you, Rick. Sorry for the mix-up, however, whatever the technical issue was.
Could I just ask one more thing?
Sure. Oh,
So
sorry,
the-
Brendan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. It's fine. So that elevation change 8, 9, and 10 is in regards to that berm that seems to have been there, put there in 2021?
I don't know. I'm not sure what berm we're talking about from
So
2021.
there's
I
an
wasn't involved
elevation,
with the
I,
property.
and it was discussed with Amy, there's an elevation change. And I don't believe that it was approved in that lawn, near the house going out towards the shore. There were two separate, it was extended, it was done and then extended. So now it looks like you're trying to pull that back. I was just wondering. Is that the case? Because I don't believe that any of that to have been approved.
Okay, so
Mr. Collins, this is Adam Brodsky. We'll inquire of the client. Neither Rick or I can, I think, speak to the issue. I was not aware of any unauthorized elevation changes, but we'll speak with the clients regarding that.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that, thank you. And you can go and look at the overheads and it's pretty clear, so that something was done there.
I'm looking at Google Earth now, and every time frame on the historic here shows that it's being grass. So there's really nothing on
It's
Google
always
Earth
been
as
grass,
far
yes. But in April of 2021, you'll see that there's
Mr. Collins muted himself or was muted.
Brendan, we can't hear
I
you.
didn't stop talking. Sorry. All right, I'm back.
I'm sorry, where are you looking to see? You said April of 21?
Yeah, so April of
where?
21, there's like a clear patch of something that was added, and then again, hold on, let me see where. Oh yeah, and then in April again of 2022, there was a larger area. You could see that all the sod put down.
And I'm sorry,
But-
where are you looking at to see that?
Well, I have what's this called, nearmap.com.
Your map, okay.
This is overhead shots. I'd share, but we can't do that. So
Right, at least that gives me some direction where to look, because I'm not seeing that on the Google Earth that I have pulled up here right now.
Okay.
Brendan, how do you spell that? The mapping thing that you're looking at?
Near nearmap.com. This is something that Amy had sent to us.
Okay,
You know,
thank
and
you.
it has overhead shots periodically from like drones or something.
Okay, thanks. Eric?
Yeah, I don't have anything significant to add at this point. I just am curious about the berm, as well as just a comment or an observation. It's just odd that the client is as protective as they are about the site generally, especially as it relates to previous COCs being approved and fulfilled. If they are in a state of disrepair, I mean, that's not nothing, but obviously not relative to this proposal and plan in front of us right here. But yeah, I don't think at this point I have a specific comment or question. We'll wait to see Rick's details.
Yeah, thank you. Does anybody want to add anything to this tonight, or any other information that they want to see that the applicant can bring forward?
I would say I would like to know any more information to make sure that this project isn't going to negatively impact the dune that's there, considering it is right next to it. It's not going to affect the function of it, all of that movement that comes with the dune and sediment supply, that this isn't going to negatively impact that. Or better yet, maybe it will help it. I don't know, but that would all be good to understand.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience that wanted to speak to this one tonight? Okay. How far out do we need to continue this? Adam, what's your thought?
Again, Chair Snow, we just need guidance on the scope of review. Mr. Allen, I don't know what his schedule is and when he'd be able to squeeze us in, but it would seem to me we need to reach some agreement regarding that, because you'll need that information presumably at the next meeting.
So, I mean, we've got a meeting in a couple weeks. It doesn't sound like we're gonna get far enough along for that one.
Again, I don't know Mr. Allen's schedule and his availability.
Well, do we want to continue it to the 20th just so that they can continue to move ahead? I don't know what our agenda's looking like, Jen.
Yeah, May 20th. I think we can do this one on May 20th, and then that will fill that agenda.
All right, so we're going to continue it to the 20th, and it may be that we're going to have to continue it for more. But let's do that.
Chair Snow, is there a consensus from the commission regarding the scope of Mr. Allen's review? Again,
No.
As to whether we want him to review the whole site or only focus on the area where the work is.
correct.
All right, well, let's go through the list. Richard?
No,
No.
no, I don't think it's a consensus at all. The COC was 10 years ago. And so I'm not sure I would agree with that.
Agree that we need to review the whole thing or not?
Yeah, or have it open to review if it seems pertinent to the proposal.
I'm a little confused.
Yes, he wants it to review the whole thing, I think. Yes.
Thank you, Penny.
Okay. Doug?
Well, I feel like I'm missing something, and I apologize for that. I don't understand, I guess, why we wouldn't. I mean, we always do that. I'm not sure why we would limit the. I mean, we look at wetlands on other people's abutting yards that might contribute or might feed in. It just seems like a typical thing to do. I'm just kind of just
I
a
agree with
little
you.
bit of at a loss, like why they don't want to do that. I think it has something to, I mean, I don't want to put words in Adam's mouth. He eloquently used plenty of them, but I unless the concern is that, I mean, I'm not interested in look, I'm I'm not interested in doing anything more than what we normally do, I guess. But I don't have a cause for this piece of property be micro focused on compared to other properties. But it seems like this is what we always do. That our consultants, when I say we, I mean our consultants always look around and often find contributing wetland areas that weren't mapped the first time around, and so that's what we trust them to do. So I don't know. I guess I'm confused a little bit about the hesitance. So, but I can't say that I want to say that he can only look in that one small area of where the drainage system's going. That somehow doesn't seem to make sense.
Okay, Penny,
Art should be able to see the whole site.
Brendan,
Yeah, I agree. If it's relevant to the project, then he should need to look at whatever he needs to look at.
Eric,
I agree with those sentiments. If it's relevant, he should be able to have a look wherever he needs to.
I would say from that poll, Adam, you gotta get a consensus.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Snow. Is Mr. Allen then going to be charged with looking at the soil conditions on all of the adjacent properties?
What he feels he should look
Well,
at.
no, I think if we start to dig on other people's properties, we're gonna have to get permission for that. I mean, you can look around a site, make some observations, but I don't think he's gonna go onto someone else's property with his auger. No. Not unless they want to give us permission to do that. If that was your client next door, would you advise them to do that?
Again, we have a fundamental disagreement regarding the scope of the investigation, so I'm just trying to put a box around it, that's all.
Okay.
Because as I suspect, you'll find similar soil conditions on all of these properties, as we discussed when we had our site visit now over a month ago.
Well, I think we got through enough of this. We're at 7:30.
Thank you.
Please.
And we're gonna continue it to the 20th. Maybe in the meantime, we can have some discussion outside the meeting and see what we can sort out.
Thank you. We have every desire to work this out.
Okay.
And I don't want to belabor the point. I can address Mr. Aberg's concerns and explain why, but
Yeah.
requires some context.
Okay. Let's get a continuance to the 20th, but in the meantime, we'll try to see if we can figure out some dialogue. All
I
right.
make a motion, we continue 181 Edward Foster to May 20th.
And then
Second it.
second from Richard, all in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Eric.
Yes.
Great. Frank, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Good night. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
16 Lighthouse Road. It's Thomas McCarthy, Mackenzie Engineering.
All right, so this is another one we continued, and I think I saw all these people. If they can please raise their hand, it helps me find them. Okay. All right, Eric Shoemaker from Mackenzie Engineering. I'm unmuting you. And Alyssa Jones. I don't know if Eric wants to start with this, but these are the revised plans that were submitted to conservation for 16 Lighthouse.
Yeah, I'll start it off. Thanks, Jen. So since we last met for the project, we revised the plan set. We decreased the building footprint to approximately 1860 square feet. We provided, based on comments from the last meeting, an elevated garage. So that garage is going to have a wooden ramp with a slope of about a foot from grade up to elevation 12.3. The elevation beneath the garage and the structure will be maintained, and that's approximately 11 to 11 and a half on the northern side of the development, adjacent to the street, and it gets about elevation 9 at the southern end. It's worth noting similar to the last revision, the entire structure, the proposed single-family home and the garage are going to be on wood pilings. So we're going to allow that free flow of water beneath the garage and the single-family home. We removed the bituminous concrete driveway that we proposed in the last revision, and we've replaced that with permeable pavers in the front yard. There's also a permeable paver patio at the rear of the single-family home, and we're calling for the removal of that existing cement concrete pad to be replaced by those permeable pavers and landscaping. So other than that, there was a planting plan provided by Environmental Consulting and Restoration LLC, Brad Holmes, and that shows some native plantings along the side and the front of the development. Those are going to be native beech plantings, and you'll see some notes at the side of the plan to fill in that area with beach grass where they can. So we're providing approximately 810 square feet of native revegetation, and you should have a planting legend on the bottom right of the plan, just showing the specs, the type of plants to be planted, and the quantity of each. So that's a quick rundown of the revisions to the plan and the planting plans, and we can answer any questions that the commission members may have.
Okay. Jen Smith, do you want to make any comment on this one? Did we have
yes.
somebody review this?
No, we have not. I don't know if we did ask for some proposals from people, but we never got anything. None of that's happened.
Okay.
I do think you sent me something saying how much larger this footprint is than what is currently there. And I do think there's concerns with pervious pavers in such a area that gets hit with storms.
Any pavers, yeah.
Even though it's all elevated, the size of the house is 3 times the size of the home that's there. And I think that's just like a rough number.
Yeah, it looks like it.
As far as kind of, covering an area that is a dune, is beach and dune.
Okay. Well, let's start some members. Doug, do you want to take this first?
I'm wondering if I missed something in my, I've been out for a few meetings, but
Well, I can shift off.
Eric,
Well,
no, a question for Eric. I thought he said that this was a reduction in the size of the home from a previous proposal. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, the plans you'll see on the top right. We submitted these in early April. Let me go back and find.
Well, I was just wondering how big the house was in the first one.
Yeah, let me check on that quickly for you just to get you a definitive answer. Our first go around was a 2,200 square foot building, or actually that was the last submission, so 2,200 square feet. So we reduced the footprint by about 400 square feet.
But that's just the house. That wasn't with the garage.
That includes, yeah, the garage too. I believe it's the entire structure.
So in the covered deck, there's a roof over it, so that really, for the purposes of what we're normally looking at for
Yeah.
what we'd call that would have to be included. If you add that in, you're up to 2,435 square feet. I'm just, how big was that? I mean, how did you fit anything bigger on there?
It extended further into the left, so the
okay.
western yard. Yeah, it was
kept going that way.
and it was approximately 8 feet from the eastern property line, I want to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is considerably bigger than what's there. This is a question for the commission. Like, this is a weird thing to look at, but are there like calculations on the plans for like amount percentage of impervious? Is that on the plan? I apologize. I'm trying to find the plan in my email here. I not.
So I
seeing it
provided,
correctly.
sorry to cut you off there, Doug, but I did provide a land usage table on the site layout plan. So I did go through the criteria of the zoning bylaw for that residence R3 zoning district. There was no requirement for building coverage in there. So we are complying with the regulations of your zoning bylaw as far as the size of the building.
Yeah, no, yeah, we don't have a other than the stormwater, you're triggered that anyways. But here's my I'm sorry, I can't find the plan. I'm sure you sent it to me, Jen. I just
Are you looking for this plan?
Yep, in my email. So I can look at it closer, but I was going to look at the calcs, but my calcs is, I guess the question is are you, when your lot area, you're taking in the entire lot area, including the land that's underwater?
Yeah, that would be the lot area. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that technically that's probably correct, but when you're looking at, some of that land is underwater, so you're not going to get any further. When you're looking at, pervious or impervious areas,
Yep.
do you following my
No,
thought process
yeah,
here? Like,
yeah.
that's
No.
underwater. It's not going to be affected by whatever kind of mitigation is in there. So I mean, and we don't have that. I think it's maybe something we need to talk about, but mean high water calculation for impervious might make more sense, because that's what you're going to be affecting with your and what that does though is it creates the it raises the amount of impervious areas. But if you're just looking at them because of math, it makes the percentage of runoff, like I'd like impervious all of a sudden becomes like well over 20%. It's like 25% of the lot or something like that. So I don't know what we normally do on something like this. This one's so obvious, I never really thought of it before. It doesn't change the difference. I mean, but it changes the numbers. So
Well, it's a good point. And especially when you're seeing the size of the structure as this one and really what they have for upland.
It's all beach and dune, so it's all resource area. So normally the benefit is elevating the home. Like that, that's your benefit. For some like other examples I'm thinking of from Hummerock, where the footprint's gone up and it's been up on piles, but you don't extend much farther than that.
Doug, I'm going to keep moving it on.
Yeah, please, yes, keep moving along. I'll digest this a little bit, but
okay. Yep. We can circle back, whatever. Penny?
Yeah, I like the plantings, but I have to go back to that it is a dune. It already has a lot of natural stuff out there where that garage is going. It's humongous. It's very big. I'm glad. I do believe you got the deck off the retaining wall and all that before you wanted to put posts into the revetment there. Am I right? You're off that now?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, because that to me was a disaster. I'm not crazy about all the pavers out front. Water comes from both sides, okay? It will come from the ocean or it can sometimes come from the harbor itself. So I would like no pavers. You got nice decks. Why don't you just sit down on the beach? Over in the back of the house. I don't like the pavers at all because I don't know. This is a tough site to me to put this size house on. And it's at a point where you can really get overwash coming from both sides. So
Okay.
I don't know. Go on, Frank.
Yep.
That's all I can think of right now.
Brendan?
Yeah, this is a tough site. I guess that's how we say it. I like that the concrete's being taken up, but we're putting pavers down instead. We're also kind of, this site has maybe, conservatively a quarter to a third of it is vegetated naturally, and we're just going to tear it all out to slam in, to put in pavers and this house. I don't have I don't know what else to say. I don't like it. Is that enough?
All right.
I'm sorry.
No, the frustrating part is we had been trying to get some coastal geologists to
Yeah,
review
out
this
there.
project, and Jen had put out multiple requests without much success. So we're behind the eight ball a little bit when it comes to that in terms of just some of the areas, but we'll keep working our way down here. Eric?
Yeah, thank you. I think the significant to total loss, and elimination of the existing vegetation and sand elevation points, both next to the house, in front of and next to the existing garage, as well as on the far left of the plan, existing vegetation is a concern, especially when it comes to not having an adverse effect on increasing erosion, where that existing vegetation can't be replicated underneath the site. That's for sure, and increasing the potential for erosion because there are no anchor points left, meaning the root zones of vegetation. And with the increased square footage, coupled with the increase of hardscaping, especially as it pertains to the potentially hazardous pervious pavers, I don't know what to say in terms of remediation, but those are problems that I see with this plan. Because impacting a coastal resource area and eliminating existing ecosystem services that's provided by the existing vegetation, where this plan indicates almost all of it, if not all of it, will be removed, is a significant threat to the coastal resource area. And I see just an increased potential for erosion, from both the land side, Lighthouse Road, as well as potential flooding from Scituate Harbor. So I think that's where I stand. I think that if we could get further review on this, that would help sort of answer some of these concerns potentially. And I don't think that adding just the mitigation measures proposed in this planting plan are significant enough to eliminate the substantial potential for erosion on the coastal dune, barrier beach, especially as it relates to, what's being removed underneath the house and garage.
Okay. Richard?
Sure. Rich is taking a nap.
Sorry about that. I muted
Huh.
myself. Okay, so what Eric said, first of all, yeah, I think he explained it much better than I ever would. But it seems to me, first of all, the house is much bigger. They're covering up a whole bunch of stuff. And in many areas, many times we like pavers, but in this case, I think they would be detrimental. And to lose all of the vegetation that's there, I'm happy that they're doing some mitigation on it, but as I said, what Eric said makes much more sense to me in terms of what's already there in terms of roots and all that. I think I'm echoing what other people said. I don't like it the way it is.
Okay.
Can I say, Frank?
Sure, Penny.
Can I just say one thing? I do want to say one positive thing. I'm very happy you put the ramp for the garage. You got the garage up off the ground because
Yes.
it was on a slab. So you did do something that made me very happy. I just wanted to be positive. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Penny. Jen, did you want to add anything else at this point?
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Frank, doesn't this trigger stormwater, or does that not? That's not in this on a barrier beach. We don't do that.
I think we had a lot of resource issues to meet the standards first.
But it could. I think that's a good question, Doug.
Well, but our normally the increase of 25% or whatever. I forget what our trigger is, but I think it triggers stormwater reviews. So I was just scouring the plan looking for any of that kind of control on it. I didn't see it, so I was wondering if does that not apply to this site?
No, it could apply, right?
It could apply. Okay.
If the numbers are there and I haven't done the math, but if enough is increasing, then yes.
And thank you for sending me that plan, but I don't see the numbers on the plan. So that's what I was that was my whole point of my rambling around there, was I was looking for the percentage. And then if we're going to look at the amount of coverage, lot coverage, in my mind, you'd go to the mean high water mark, because the water, the land already underwater isn't going to take any more.
No.
So, but I mean, I could understand an argument against that. That's where my head is at right now. So, but it doesn't matter. 1,100, 500, what was it? 11,500 square feet. It's going to trigger it if we go by our normal stormwater triggers anyway. So and it also gives us, we'll have at least some review on the site if we do, when that part happens. But you're right, we do need coastal engineering expertise on sites like this. So.
Okay.
Well, can we ask for that? Can those numbers be sent to us? The impervious and pervious percentages?
Yes, that can be sent to you. I believe I provided those to you.
Yeah, I have the square footage. Yep.
Via email.
And then if we have stormwater questions, we can ask for those calculations.
Okay.
Yeah, Eric, if you can report those in the terms of percentage, because that's how the bylaw is written. So, you're existing, and then you can, everything that's going to be removed, subtracted from that, and then what's proposed, and you'll have a net increase.
Yeah, understood. So you're looking for percentages of impervious coverage in the pre and post development condition.
Exactly, yeah, because that, yeah, exactly, because that's how the bylaw is structured. So,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay.
And then I guess I can add about the pervious pavers, the issue being they block the ability for the sand to move, so for the dune to function, and then they contribute to storm.
It's also
Storm
going to
damage.
increase, it's going to increase the speed of the water going across it instead of
Yeah.
soaking in.
Yep.
That's my non-engineering verbiage.
Yeah,
Well, folks want the sand to move, Richard.
There you go.
yeah, the intent was to provide a pervious paver that would absorb stormwater and leach it into the native soils beneath it. But we can look at that and remove it.
In a storm, it's not going to soak in. It's just gonna
It's not
run.
it's not going to soak fast enough. It'll
No,
move across.
right.
That's right.
It's gonna run right across. Either way.
Okay,
So-
do we have anybody in the audience, Jen, tonight?
If they can raise their hand, that would be helpful. I know we received
I see a couple hands raised there.
all right,
Oh.
all right, so I know Alyssa, does Alyssa have any comments for the project?
Yeah, you got a few
Otherwise
hands.
I'll go to some of the other ones. I'll start with Darlene. I'll unmute you.
You just want to say your
all.
name and address for the record, please. Is Darlene there?
Yeah, I'll try again. Darlene, I'm asking to
Sorry,
unmute. There
can
you
you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got you now.
My name is Darlene Getz and I live at 11 Lighthouse Road. And I'm directly across the street from the property. And I've sent in some videos so that you guys, I don't know how often you get out here to do site visits, but when you look at that area during a storm and you see what happens when the water comes over the seawall, it goes directly across and runs right through that whole area where the garage is. And this last few storms, that whole rock seawall on the other side or the embankment has been moving and all the big boulders have been moving. So like this is proposed to go right up to that. And this is not a secure area. And when you put pavers in, from what I've seen from the other properties on the point that have pavers, during the storms, these pavers move too. And then they're all over the place and they're really not doing anything to help maintain the area. And the last thing is, I'm just wondering when you I think I heard in one of these meetings that they're going to put 67 pilings in for this property. And I just don't know what kind of damage that does to an already compromised area. So that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. We have another hand.
Sure, Trisha Burlow. I'm
Trisha,
unmuting you. There you go.
Yes, can you hear me?
we
Good
got you.
evening. Thanks for giving us the chance to, let me see, I'm too loud here, to speak tonight. I have to echo all of the things that Darlene said, but as well as most of the things that the commission has talked about in terms of the size and the scope and the pavers. There are just a lot of concerns. I'm sorry, I didn't say my address, 183 Turner. I am Darlene's neighbor, so I also am directly across the street. I know my husband has written to you. I know some of the other neighbors, so I'm assuming you've had a chance to review the pictures and the information that we've included. I just think the size and scope, I actually have questions, but I don't know if the questions go to this board or it's a different board, questions involving the footprint of the house. Why is it allowed to be such a huge percentage bigger than it already is, than the existing house?
So this is the reason for having a hearing, is so that the applicant can put forward their project, and then we have to review it along with other town boards to see what would be allowed there. So it's a process.
That's what I wasn't sure of, if that was a question that was appropriate for this board.
No,
or
that's
not.
fine. I mean, you're hearing it from members of the commission and
Right.
your neighbors.
And I'm also concerned nobody's talked about the height, which I don't see anywhere on the
That
plan,
that
but I'm.
that that
Yeah.
is that is not a condition
Oh,
of the Conservation Commission.
Okay,
The height of the first floor is our concern, but
Right.
not the overall height.
okay.
Or
I
for that
understand.
matter, the architectural pieces or anything like that. Our concern is how does this function in the location where it is? And
Okay, I understand. I also agree that obviously a coastal geologist of some sort needs to review this before it moves forward in any direction.
Oh, we're trying.
okay, thank you.
And my husband is
ahead.
here. Apparently he can't get on to talk on his computer. So I'm going to raise my hand again when you finish with other people so he can speak.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
We have another.
All right, so Patrick Kearney. I'm unmuting you.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. State Representative Patrick Kearney. I live at 8 Morton Road in Scituate. I wanted to just get on quickly. I don't typically involve myself in local things, but I did want to talk from a 30,000-foot view as a state legislator that works with this community pretty frequently. I have a lot of concerns with this proposed project at this point. I've been working with a lot of my colleagues in state and federal government and with the folks that are part of the Cedar Point Association. It's been on multiple topics as it relates to the point, but this area is the narrowest point on the point. It's a critical area, and myself and the congressional delegation has been working with the Army Corps of Engineers on replacing the seawall across the street. Recently, as part of a congressional spending bill, Senator Markey has earmarked $5 million in discretionary congressional spending to replace the seawall, which is falling apart. I think Mr. Burlow will be able to speak to that as a concrete engineer. But the proposed project as it stands now undermines the entire structural integrity of this area. And it's going to impact water flow, not just to the neighbors that are on this call, but frankly to the entire harbor's protection from storm surge. So the yacht club, the boat club, the entire commercial fishing fleet that's stationed at the pier, the harbor business district, all of that is going to be at a greater risk if this project as it stands goes forward. So I'd like to kind of just say that from a 30,000-foot view, any elimination of coastal vegetation or construction that's going to eliminate the ability of the current situation there or reduce the ability of that small point from upholding the entire harbor is a threat not just to this neighborhood, but really to our entire town. I wanted to note quickly that the Secretary of Economic Development worked very closely with myself and Senator O'Connor, and we secured $1 million grant to fund the replacing of the Cedar Point sewer system in this neighborhood. And the point of that grant was to eliminate saltwater infiltration so that the new sewer treatment plant wasn't treating the 180,000 gallons of salt water that was infiltrating our system. And it was to create more housing, not just to help with the sewer system, but it was to create more housing in town. We have an affordability crisis statewide, and if this proposed project goes through as it stands, eliminating things that are upholding the structural integrity of the point undermine and put at greater risk the brand new sewer system that we fought for state money to secure. The town spent $6 million installing, and it's going to not only impact, again, this neighborhood, but the business district in the harbor, and anything that threatens the sewer system is going to actually impact housing development townwide. So thank you for listening to my concerns, and I appreciate you having me on tonight.
Thank you. Before we move forward thank you. before we move forward to other hands raised, does the applicant or their engineer want to speak to a couple of the comments that were made so far? Or do we want to wait till we go through the rest?
I see the applicant on here. Do you want me, I'm gonna unmute Tom McCarthy.
If he wants to speak to that, or if they want to wait till or his engineer, or if they want to wait till the comments are made, we can do either.
Oh, I would just assume speak now.
Sure. Just for the record, Tom.
Yep. Tommy McCarthy, I'm the builder, or was going to be the builder for that project. I've been doing this for almost 40 years of my life. I have never heard, this is blowing my mind right now. I mean, so according to the last gentleman, Mr. Markey there, I'm going to destroy the entire town by building this house on that lot of land. It's incredible to me. The two people who have already complained about it are the direct across street neighbors who are obviously going to lose their harbor views. And Mrs. Burlow, you're talking about the height of the house. Well, the house right next door to you, the first woman who spoke, is one of the two tallest houses on the point. So I don't never understand all this stuff. And obviously I'm backing out of this now. I'm not going to pursue this any longer. But really what you've done is this, the poor woman who owns that property there, her whole life's had that summer cottage, and now she finally needs to sell it and move on, take care of herself. And you have totally just bashed her. It's incredible to me. That's awful. That was really bad. How can anybody build a house there when you're saying the vegetation has to stay? Don't take that up. How would you ever build a house there? You couldn't. It's impossible. It's amazing to me what goes on right now. Anyway, I'm going to pull this application. I'm officially done with it. It's over, Frank. Thanks anyway.
Well, I can just say, Tom, that there are some pieces of this. People can come on and make comments about
I know that, Frank,
a project, and the commission has to work within their purview. We have an open meeting, and people can come in and make comments, and we do our best, as I pointed out to Mrs. Burlow, I think with the height of the house, it's not pertinent to the Conservation Commission. What we're trying to address is these pieces, and what I could say is that, and this commission has considered housing where it goes up on piles and removes properties that obstruct the flow of water. In this case, a portion of your project would accommodate that. So there are pieces in elevating a home, letting water flow through. I think to make comments or however you want to answer this in terms of maybe jeopardizing the sewer or something, which I don't see as pertinent to this application, I think is important to note. You know, there are aspects of this that are positive. I think you're hearing the concerns of people that are concerned about what gets removed and what gets put there. But at the end of the day, we would be trying to look at this in a fair manner, but also looking at the site and what impacts it would have. So I think it goes both ways. But you're certainly within your right to do what you want to do here. You can take the information that you have and then decide if you want to make any other adjustments or whatever once we get through the process. Or you can.
All set. Thanks. But I will say this, one of your own board members said, well, yeah, you made it so much bigger. The house is 1,000 square feet smaller than the first house. Why does somebody say I'm making it so much bigger? Because they're not informed. That was an awful comment.
Well, I think the comment might be that this house is much larger than what exists on the property now.
Well, of course, because what exists on the property now is a one-room.
I understand that, and to think that another small cottage would be built in that location with the size, I think that's something that would be part of the hearing process. So, just asking you, do you want to continue the hearing?
No, I've spent way too much money on this. Nope. When this much influxes is allowed to be put into these meetings from the neighbors, for, everyone's concerned about my lot, my driving pilings, but everyone else is on pilings over there. It's, I can't even believe it. The woman who took the video, did she take the video of her water going under her own house and that seawall destroyed? Way worse than the one on the other side.
Again, you're entitled to the process. I mean, abutters have the opportunity to bring things in, and then the commission has to disseminate what's pertinent to our commission and what is not, and we have to do that. Because certainly people, all kinds of emotions will run on this thing. So
exactly. So anyway, yep, I've calmed down a little bit now, but no, I'm officially all done with that though. Thank you.
So are you requesting to withdraw this application, Tom?
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're done, Frank. That's too bad.
Well, the applicant could certainly come back again. I would say
We're done for tonight.
well, the question is, do we continue it or we just drop it?
Well,
I want
Sometimes
to continue it until we have that in writing that they're withdrawing it.
that's a good point, Jen. Why don't we
very good.
continue this to the 20th and request a that in writing?
In writing.
Or do we? What about the 20th, Jen? Are we okay?
I think let's make it happen on the 20th.
Okay.
Okay. So I'd like
can
a
I
motion.
make a motion? I make a motion. We continue 16 Lighthouse Road to May 20th.
I second that.
That was Brendan.
Yeah.
All in favor, Richard?
Yeah.
Doug?
Yep.
Eric?
Yep.
And Frank, yes. Okay, thank you.
Moving on.
Okay, I do think you need to open the RDAs, and I don't know if you want to open them all together.
I would recommend you do them all together.
Well, if Richard recommends that.
Let's
then,
do it.
So not 31 Powell, but I can open 11 and 21.
They're all
It's
submitted
111 and
together.
112. Yeah, they're all together, Frank. Even though 31 Lowell, it's the same place. It's the
And
same-
11 and 21?
It's 111 and
It's 111.
112.
Thank you.
Oh,
Jeez.
111 and 112.
12 Hammerock Beach.
So I'll
and
open those together and then the
31 Lowell
Lowell,
is also 133.
Oh, they're all
134,
okay, good.
135.
all
No,
together.
I get it. Thank you. Took me a minute here. Still digesting the last meeting, the last hearing. On May 6, 2024, during the 6 p.m. meeting, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Peter Armstrong for a determination of applicability to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaws for activities related to material for 40 by 50 volleyball court, single-family dwelling at location 31 Lowell Street, 131, 134, 135, Hammerock Beach Road, and 36 Concord Street, Scituate, or Hammerock. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the website. And then I have on May 6, 2024, at the 6 p.m. meeting, the Scituate Conservation will act on the request of Peter Armstrong for a determination of applicability of Wetlands Protection Act, the Scituate Wetlands Bylaws for activity related to material for a 40 by 50 volleyball court at a single-family dwelling location at 111 and 112 Hammerock Beach, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend, and access to the meeting will be available posted on the website. So
And I
looks
do
like we're into volleyball course tonight.
And Peter Armstrong, he said he was going to log in. If he can raise his hand, I will unmute you.
Frank, can I give just a little background on this for people
Sure.
who may not understand why the streets, or maybe they will understand why the streets are so different. At one time, like 100 years ago, Hammerock Beach Road was the road closest to the beach.
Yes.
And over the course of many years, several cross streets have come and interrupted the road, as well as a lot of residents have decided that they own the road. That's a different subject. At any rate, So basically, these houses are all in line behind the seawall along Humrock Beach, regardless of their address.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good.
Okay, so we have an applicant, Peter, maybe?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can, loud and clear.
There we go. Peter Armstrong, PA Construction. Been doing work down in Humrock for over 40 years now. The first project that I started was for the batteries at Humrock Beach Way, which was a volleyball court in 2017. We've refreshed his volleyball court every year, doing it under minor work permits. A lot of people have actually, when COVID hit, a lot of other people decided that they wanted to be outside and having these real enjoyable outside activities. Well, what we've done, I've worked with Amy before on this for years, and we've done it on a minor work permits. Last year, she said, you know, maybe we should do these under a RDA. I says, all right, well, we can do that. That's fine. The Polcari's house and Alice's house, which is the house next door. We actually, with her RDA just said, well, the RDA that we submitted for that house is just a walkway that makes it so that people can walk all the way down to the water, because they do have a lot of stones and stuff that are up in that area. I've walked a lot of these with Amy before. There's never any vegetation or anything that we're on the beach area that we interrupt. And we just we flatten out what area is there, and then we just put actually screened wash sand is what ends up being put down there. After the amount of years that we've been doing this, you can see sometimes there's the ocean actually will come up and start eroding some of this. It is a coarse material that actually mixes with the beach stone, which is a combination of almost the same thing that they're putting down in Minot right now. The other ones that are down from Lowell Street to Concord Street, it's the same scenario. We just flatten out what's there, and each house or each building will take roughly about 40 to 60 yards of washed sand. We spread it out, level it out, and they can enjoy it for the summer. It's actually worked out very good for a lot of people.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to open this up to members for questions, and since it's in the hood, Richard, do you want to?
Everything, we did not rehearse this. Everything Peter said is very accurate. There's no vegetation disturbed. Actually, Peter, the beach is a little lower than it's been in a few years, so it might be a little easier for you if this goes through. There's never been an issue that I know of, other than the only questions I've ever heard from anybody in the area is when the sand is first put down, it does look a little different from the rest of the beach, but then it's very quickly mixed in. And I don't think it's ever been an issue at all. And it's right. This has been going on for many, many years. And I know Amy had mentioned she wanted it converted to an RDA, which I don't see any problem with that either. But it's not been an issue down here at all. And it's proven to be something that for a lot of people is really very nice activity that is safe and way away from the water. Unless there's a huge storm, of course, that's always subject, but it's up by the wall. So it's really well away from the water. That's all I got.
Thank you. Doug?
So if this is an RDA, does this have a life expectancy to the order? Or does Peter have to come back every single year to do this? I mean, how's that been working in the past?
This is good for 3 years if it's
3 years. So so next year he could replace the sand again, if he needs to, and
Same
then
place, same
without coming
dimensions.
back. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, we could part of this, we could be saying to him, we want to be notified when you're going to do it, and give us a little bit of information, just because things could change a little, but essentially.
Pretty,
Yeah, I mean, if it's been a minor work permit in the past, I don't want to have to,
They would have got a minor activities permit every year. So part of this, when we do this, we might say at least the commission needs to be notified, or maybe a couple of photos or some pertinent information.
Makes sense.
It'd be good to document when it was done and that it was done.
okay. But he wouldn't have to
no.
do this again for 3 years, which is good. All right. That's it.
I wouldn't mind adding to that with what Richard and Doug has said. Which was one of the reasons why I liked doing it on a minor work permit, because it required me to get one every year. Going every 3 years, I don't know if you want to conditionally do that. That notification from me to do these will have to be part of the RDA. I think that's the right way to do it.
Yes.
But if we can do it that way, as long as I do that every year for 3 years, can we just automatically approve the second RDA for the next 3 years? As long as I meet those requirements.
No, you would need to reapply. RDAs don't continue.
Gambled and lost. All right.
Nice try. Let's try, Peter.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Penny?
No, I'm all set. Looks good.
Brendan?
I'm all set.
Eric?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Jen? Smith?
He answered my questions about it being appropriate material being brought and how much. Yes, it'd be good to know when you're going to do the work. And I guess it's a chance to say maybe we should talk more about any paths being made to go out to the beach. I know that wasn't part of this, but just before any of that's done, it would be good to call the office first.
Oh, to walk down to the beach.
Right. I want to, as much as we can, encourage people to get away from digging out a path and do something else.
Put down the Moby mats.
Is that something that you're talking new people that would be interested in doing that? Not the
Well, yeah, I feel like you mentioned something about a path out to the beach, and I just wanted to. This is just the volleyball part.
Right. Well, the Alice's house, which actually I donate the machine time and the material to do that one, because it is more of a handicap accessibility thing for them to get down to the water. That's the only one that actually doesn't. It is written in their RDA, or the description of the work that's going to be done there. It just makes it easier for them to access the water. So they're actually not getting the volleyball court. They're just getting the walkway that goes down. I think we submitted, there might even been some pictures submitted on that one. I'm not sure. I would have to check to make sure.
Okay.
So I think, Peter, a couple of things that are concerned to the commission is we don't want to see the beach get altered by moving a lot of material around. The idea is that you can bring in some more material, smooth it out. People can use it for volleyball or, to walk easily to the beach. But what we don't want is to have some large or even minimal sort of regrading project. The idea is to not disturb material that's been placed there naturally. It's just to cover it with material that works. So I just want to be sure we're clear on what happens there.
Yes, no, basically what we've always done is just flattened out what's existing. Because
when you say flatten it out,
in other words, just take whatever we have for material in that 40 by 50 area and grade it to the same elevation with the material we have. So in other words, we don't push material down to the water. We don't push stuff up against the seawall. We make it just level with the material we have and then bring the material in and go right on top of it.
So how much do you usually have to regrade to make that work?
we might move maybe 60 to 80 yards of material. But there'll be a spot that'll be a foot low, and then there'll be a spot that'll be a foot high. You average it all out and just make it level in the existing areas. I mean,
So along with adding the material, you are doing a little regrading
Yes.
of the beach.
Yeah. Well, it does make it too, so that during the winter, so
Mhm.
once we've regraded this, what happens by the September, October, the sand that's there does filter down through the rocks and it mixes it up. And I did actually go up and look at mine to see what they were doing in the type of materials they were making to put on the beaches. It basically does the same thing, but it does it naturally.
Okay. All right.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
I make a motion for a -3 for all of it.
I'll second it.
From Richard, motion for Penny, second by Richard. All in favor? Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
When does this, and do we have a timeline, or you're gonna let Jen know when you're?
Yeah, it'll probably happen, let me see, the end of May.
Before
Right.
Memorial Day, isn't it usually, Peter?
Yeah, so it's try to just to get it as far out into the season as possible. Usually in April and May, we still get a few storms that could ruin this. So I try to do it as close to June as possible.
If you could just like another project, just give us a heads up when you plan to
Yep.
do the work, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
You.
Okay.
Okay, we got an extension, Frank?
We have a request for an extension of 12 Carnsley, Jen.
They have orders for an addition to their home, and they're still working through a couple other permits that they need. This is their first request for an extension.
So how far out do we want to extend it, Jen?
You can do 3 years.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Is that all right to extend 12 Carsley orders?
That's a motion from Penny with second.
I'll second that, Doug.
Second from Doug. All in favor, Richard
Yes.
and Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes.
Okay, the request for the amendments to their orders. They're gonna have to come in, right, Jen?
Right, this is the request to hear them as an amendment.
Okay, so do we have to vote on, yes, we'll hear them?
It would be good to have a vote to say, yes, it's okay
Yeah.
to hear it as an amendment.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept the request for an amendment for 74 and 74C Glades Road, 74B Glades Road.
Yeah, let's do those separate from 71 and 73.
Yes,
just 'cause-
okay.
So
Somebody-
all we're doing is the applicant's gonna put in a
They gotta come in and see us.
proper amendment. So
Right.
we're just,
As opposed to originally it was just a minor modification, right?
right.
Yeah.
In amendments, the amendments get,
Better a little more.
well, they get
You
advertised.
get advertised.
So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
notices go out and whatnot. So as long, we're basically saying that the work that these folks are proposing, we're going to allow as an amendment, or we're going to consider as an
We're
amendment.
gonna
We're gonna listen
consider
to
it,
them.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
So I have a motion from Penny. Did I get a second?
I'll second that.
From Doug, all in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank. And so that we're not accepting these, all we're doing is accepting that
We're
we're
gonna
gonna
listen
let
to
them
them.
come
And
in.
then we'll
Let them come
advertise
in.
them for a future hearing.
right, okay,
Okay.
and
73 Glades Road was also a septic project that they have some changes to.
so we
We need
will,
to make a separate motion.
Yeah,
Correct.
I make a motion for the request for an amendment that we let them come in, whatever, 7173 Glades Road.
I'll
I
second
can't
it.
think anymore.
I'll second it.
Second by Richard. All in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Thank you.
Now we
Um,
got a modification. What's up
Yes.
there, Jen?
And I thought I had the plan, but they have orders and for septic work. And they want to build a deck. They say they only need 2 footings, a 9x6.5 deck, I think was the size. So the question was, could that be, does
A
it need to
minor
be a separate
modification?
notice or a minor modification?
Jen, just it was a 10 by 6.5 and the footings
Okay.
were the 9 foot apart.
Gotcha. So it was 10
yep.
by 6.5. Okay.
Yep.
So what do we have to do for it? Say yes or say no?
If you're
we're
okay
looking
with it being a minor modification, say yes.
Do we have a drawing?
You know what? Hold on. I think I do. I'm almost there.
Okay. There it is. So what do they want to change?
This deck is what they're adding to the septic work that they were doing on their site.
we have a hand up.
I think that's the owner.
Well, existing septic system. I see a proposed deck. What are you talking? Another deck?
That's what they're asking for.
This
I
is
think.
what they're asking to add.
Okay.
Can we just let Mr. Hathaway explain it maybe?
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good evening.
Ron Hathaway, the homeowner. There was a small set of stairs there with a landing that was taken out when we did this new septic system. So I'm replacing it. At the time that Morris did the drawings, I didn't realize we needed to put a couple of tubes in the ground. The previous owner just had the stairs sitting on the slab. So I had asked Morse to update this drawing with these 2 tubes so that we could put the landing and the steps back in.
Got it. Seems like a minor
very
modification to
minor.
me.
Okay,
So actually a minor modification, Jen, you can just issue that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll
I'll
save
set
the
there.
vote. Great. Thank you.
Thank-
Thanks for the
thank you
explanation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's gonna be any discussion on 285 Central Ave, so I'm gonna leave those orders and we're gonna do 9 Mitchell Ave, 9 Collier Road, 91 Surfside, 817 Country Way, and there might be some controversy on Crescent. I don't know. So can we do those first? I make a motion, we accept those orders as written. I know I read.
Excluding Crescent Ave and excluding
Yeah,
Central Ave.
for the moment.
285 Central. Okay. So that's a motion from Penny, who's second.
I'll second that.
Second from Brendan. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, great.
Okay, now I
Now-
don't know if anybody has. I did
280
put the orders. Oh, okay, let's go back to 285 Central Ave. And Jen sent out a very nice set of orders with it highlighted. I personally don't have any problem with the orders she gave us, but I don't know if somebody else does. I guess we'll
Anybody-
open it up to discussion.
Does this
Anybody have
to be
any-
unanimous?
No,
Huh?
no, we can vote it and
Okay.
I'll go through it one by one. If anybody want to make a comment before we vote. So all in favor of the conditions for 285 Central Ave, Richard,
Yep.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny.
I'm all set with what.
Oh, you made the motion.
Yes.
Brendan,
No.
Eric,
Yeah.
And Frank, yes. Okay.
One of my favorite projects, that's for sure.
0 Crescent Ave.
Okay. I read those. I think those looked very good. I liked how Jen put in that where the driveway behind the original house has to be taken out before any other site work is done on the proposed. And yeah, I liked everything and the vegetation down below. I personally would have liked some post and reel there, but like she said, we have 3 years to go out and monitor it. So I personally am all set with it. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Well, I had,
So go ahead.
okay, so, well, I had one comment,
Yeah,
but then you just, what you just described brought up a question.
okay.
So we're saying the driveway behind 40 Crescent Ave is to be removed? That's on a
Yes,
separate
they,
lot.
Well, right
That's
now, Doug,
they're all
it's all,
together.
they're all one lot.
You
These
missed
haven't
the
been,
last meeting.
They haven't transferred ownership.
they haven't subdivided that completed the subdivision of that property.
Okay, because yeah, I was going for the, and so just if you get me up to speed, did they did they change the layout of the house? Or is the size of the house or anything like that?
I
Or
think
the
there
lot
was,
lines?
I'm trying to remember.
They changed the lot lines.
They
They're
did.
working on
Lot
updating
lines.
that in planning.
They
But
moved
the
house a
meeting
little.
before, the house got shifted a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it did get shifted a little, but it's still a good size home. But there really wasn't anything negative. The big thing was that driveway to get that asphalt out of there.
Yeah, so that's why you can do that. Okay, because I was confused how you could
Yeah,
condition
yeah,
another piece of property like that. So
right. So
it's
that they,
still under a common ownership. And then my comment was, is you got a tree, basically a mini little tree bylaw in there. And I was wondering about your discussions over that. I mean, I like what you've done. What do you guys think about that? Is you know, we get some complaints sometimes that we don't really have a written policy
excuse me.
about mitigations. And you know, when Amy threw out the idea once about a tree bylaw, and we, you know, we've kind of kicked it around a little bit, but it's complicated to do things like that. But 3-inch diameter trees, and native.
Yeah.
So how is that received by the applicant, and how does the rest of the board members feel about that?
The applicant was fine. They really, I thought they stepped right up and were willing to do everything we asked. But that's
So
my view. Okay.
a 1-to-1 replacement?
Was it 1-to-1, Jen? I can't remember.
Some were in the 100-foot buffer and some are in the front yard.
Yeah.
So we were sort of leaving that open for a bit of discussion, because that way maybe they wanted to replant what was being taken out of the backyard and put it in the front yard. So we were trying to give some options there.
When they came back in, Doug, they worked with us greatly from the first meeting. Okay, our comments at the first meeting. They came back and I think Frank just about did everything we asked. Yes, no, maybe.
It was just a little unclear which trees were coming down and why. And so we wanted to have room for discussion once it is decided if a tree needed to come down, if it wasn't doing well.
Well, because it looked to me like there was at least 3 or 4 mature trees in the back that really should have been able to remain. They were in the area that they had proposed for mitigation. So I was hoping they would leave those. And then there's some along the sidelines that were.
I think they were going to bring an arborist in or something because they said they weren't doing very well.
Well, Penny,
Oh.
part of the problem is on
Yeah.
the plan, they didn't identify any of the mature trees on that
At all-
side of the plan,
Okay.
the seaside, that were going to be removed. And at some point after that was addressed during the meeting,
Yeah.
it was indicated that those trees were in poor health. And then I asked who was the one that assessed the health of those
That's
trees.
right.
Was it an expert, a certified arborist? And the response was that it was the homeowner. So I just had confirmed that it was, you know, a layman, you know, opinion on their health, and asked that if they are to be removed, that they are verified to be in poor health and a safety issue. And if that is the case, that we do a in-kind replacement of those that have been removed, and as a mitigating measure to make sure that the replacements are of a native species.
Nice.
Okay.
So in kind, so 1 for 1. So that's
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some towns have gone with, you know, like if you take goes by the caliper. You
Yeah.
take down a 12-inch tree, you'd have to put in 4 3-inch trees. You know,
Yeah.
and then another town I know of, I think Norwell, cuts it in half first, and then does that. So a 12-inch tree, you were replanting with 6 or 3s, you'd have to put in 2 to equal up half the diameter. Or
they
half
I think that
the-
makes sense in
Yeah.
terms of something that if we do end up getting something written, that's defined. I think I just had said in kind generally, if I'm remembering
no,
correctly.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
we don't we leave this open to the applicant has to give us a plan that we'll approve.
Oh, a tree plant, a planting
Yeah.
plan or
Planting
something?
plan.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, we should be more specific, and I think Doug's, all your ideas are, um, you know, I think in time, we should certainly discuss this and come up with something that we can say, this is our policy. I can think of a couple of sites on Man Hill Road where they stripped every tree on the site, which was really discouraging. So,
Yeah, yeah.
we should come up with something we want to adopt and hold people to. In this case, I think we basically said we wanted trees and it was going to be subject to which we have done before, and trying to, you know, move things along. We've said, well, we're going to need a planting plan that we can approve. It would be ideal to have it ahead of time, but
Yeah. No,
okay.
my comment was really, it was refreshing to see that in there, that we're, I do think we have to formalize it at some point, but it's good that that discussion went well with the applicant as well, too.
Yeah, they came back and were very good, I thought anyways.
Okay.
All right,
Well, so
so,
I'm ready to vote.
okay, so I will make a motion that we accept the orders for 0 Crescent Ave as written.
It's a motion from Penny. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
So Doug's seconded. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great.
Okay, Jen, CSC, we don't have to vote on that, but
Right.
No, they did some seagrass planting years ago, and this is them closing out the order.
okay, is the seagrass still growing?
Yes.
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
yay, very nice, very nice. Okay. Okay, can I have the floor now, Frank, before you, quickly?
Anything for you, Penny.
Oh, yeah, sure
Mm.
thing. Anyways, I sent you all an email yesterday. This is my the Mordecai Lincoln property.
You can say my Mordecai Lincoln property.
Well, I mean the whole board. It belongs to everybody in town. It's just been my baby for 5 years. It's been going on. Anyways, the long and the short, it was let me just quickly go over. It was purchased with CPC funds, and it was purchased under historic, the buildings, open space, the 5 acres from the stone wall down. is open space, so that is falling under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. I finally got the go-ahead a week and a half ago for the engineering to move forward to put in a new driveway in a parking area. And that hopefully is going out to bid. I'm hoping within a month to get that out to bid, which would be wonderful. And because we would like to get the public up there as quickly as possible. Now, the open space, there's like 5+ acres there. Over the weekend, we had Chip Shape Day. I sent you all pictures. I don't know if you all opened the email I sent this afternoon, but I had an awesome crew. 14 people showed up and some kids, and we went out there, and 32 bags of mostly bottles, a lot of rubbish, blah, blah, blah. We had springs from old mattresses. We had parts of a lawnmower and so forth. Anyways, this crew was phenomenal. The town will be picking, if they didn't pick it up today, Mike Green said they'd get to it tomorrow. So the woods are clean. Then Howard and company, his two helpers of trail. Howard, if you don't know, is our guru of trail making. Howard went out there with Chris Williamson and Ed Watton, and they got the first phase, the whole thing done on Sunday. It is phenomenal, the trail. The views it is so breathtaking when you get out there and you look across the marsh. And it goes all the way around to where the kayak launches. There is not going to be a dock there. It is just you walk down, you're at the marsh's edge, and put your kayak in and go. Have a wonderful day. Okay, so the second phase will be coming along the brook up towards where the old dam was. All right. And I told them when you get back to do that, that's fine and dandy. My question for the board tonight is, yes, we were out there. Susan Harrison, who is a select person, is a great champion of this project. She has been unbelievable help to me. We were out there and there's a field. 3+ acres is this big grass area, and that's open space. My vision is we don't need, first I have to step back. This will be a no dog walking trail that has been created out there. The reason being we have plenty of we have a dog park, we have all the trails up the west end. This is way too small of a piece of property, and we are having issues not only with the driftway and the naughty dog owners leaving their bags. Now down the common, we're finding they're throwing the bags up in trees. Shame on them. This will be a no dog park. It's too small. So now I come to this huge open grass area, which the town, Mike Green, has been going out and mowing. This is my vision that I would like to propose, and I hope you can support me in it. Instead of a grass area, that doesn't do anything for the environment. My vision is to make it a wildflower field and have a path cut from the parking area straight down to the kayak ramp. Just have that mowed straight down and around the outer perimeter of the grass area. So people that don't want to go in the woods can at least walk around this area. And my goal is, I think it would be like a sanctuary. It is so peaceful out there. It is so quiet out there. And having a wildflowers growing instead of a mowed lawn, you'll have butterflies, you'll have small birds, you'll have the bunnies, you'll have, I mean, I just, the bees, I would just like for the board to give me any suggestions. Eric, I would weigh heavily upon your suggestions, but I would love to get your support to go forward in trying to have this happen. I'm open for any questions or comments, please.
Well, congratulations on making that progress so far, Penny. That's great. I know you've been pushing this one for a long time.
It's a
and
dream come true to me.
and it's a like you say, it's a spectacular spot, and I'm glad you mustered up a whole bunch of folks to clean up, and then got the trails folks to take a look at how that trail might look, and
Oh, the trail's in. Frank, the
So-
trail is in. You can walk there, but it is not open to the public yet.
Okay.
Anybody on the commission, you are more than welcome to go out and
All
walk
right.
it.
Well, you have a ways to go with your parking and all the sort of things like that, but I'm glad it's moving along.
Well, what do you think of my idea for the grass field?
I love the idea.
Eric?
Maybe we should
Yeah,
take a look at the site.
Well,
Yeah,
hey,
I was
listen,
gonna say, if we
I've been
take
5
a look-
years. Come, I will walk it with you.
Right. All right, let's
yeah, I think taking,
go ahead.
all right.
No,
No,
go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, if we take a look at the site, see what size we're dealing with, fill
It's
type,
at least
all
2
that sort of
to
thing,
3
and try
acres.
and get
It's
as many
big.
plants that
Yeah.
are, native to that eco-type region. Yeah, I don't see any problem with it on its surface, but I think it would be smart to take a walk.
Well, I am here every day.
And she's not buying green bananas anymore, so
Gee.
Yes, I do. I always buy green bananas.
Oh,
I don't
good.
like
Good.
overripe bananas.
Well, there we go. All
But
right.
I would like to be able to tell the town to stop mowing it at least. There's no reason. I mean, it's
All right, well, why don't you you and
Eric.
Eric,
Yep.
we'll figure out a time. All right.
well,
And
yeah, the sooner the better. I'm on a roll, Frank. I've been waiting a long
really,
time.
really, I like to just think you were
And
just kind of sitting there.
thankfully I have support of my vision by select people, so that's good.
Yep. All right. So that's what you wanted to say.
Well,
I-
yes, yes.
She
and I
did it
think it's
well.
wonderful. We're going to try to get together with as many members as we can next Tuesday,
Tuesday, the 14th.
Tuesday the 14th. So we're gonna meet at the Mount Hope building. There's a Cub Scout group that's in there that ends their meeting at 7. So we were thinking that we would try to meet at 6:30 at Appleton Field and look around a little bit at Appleton to see some of the things we've completed there, chat for a few minutes, and then go to Mount Hope if any of you can do that.
Yep.
All right. We got Jeremy Packard with a hand raised. Who did we forget tonight?
I'm gonna unmute you, Jeremy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No, this is Jeremy Packard with Fourth Infrastructure. I was here for the certificate of compliance for a 2022 oceanfront. It sounds like you guys said you didn't have to vote on it. I just want to make sure that that is approved. We have 2 similar orders. The McKays are selling their home, and when they were doing the title search, I believe the attorneys came up with 2 orders from the previous owner that were for that same dune. And I think those will end up on the next agenda. And so I just want to, make sure that this one is approved tonight, and that and see if I should plan to come back for those to close the other 2 out.
Well, tonight's was approved.
Yeah,
Well-
so I would think the as-built and the photos you sent for this one speak to work
The
done
previous
before.
ones. Yeah. Okay.
So technically the commission doesn't vote, the agent, Jen, brings us before the commission, see if there's any issues. We typically, unless there was some issue, we don't vote a certificate of compliance. It's the agent's position to write that, but as a formality, whatever, she brings it before the commission just to make sure it's been vetted. So now Jen can go forward and issue the certificate of compliance.
Okay. All right, great. I'm all good then. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
All right, you have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks.
Frank,
So
on-
Mount Hope,
On the 14th, is it just commission members?
Yes.
Jen,
That's all we have right now.
we
I
can,
mean,
we,
it's, you know, I'll post an agenda, but the idea is it's a chance to informally get together and see each other face to face.
but I
The
said to,
workshop,
I said
thought.
to Jen, I'm open if someone, you have to get a ride here, or if anybody would like to bring spouse or something like that, they can see what we're doing. What I'd like to do is take a look at Appleton, have a chance to chat, talk about some of these ideas that we have, and maybe talk about our future sort of goals, that sort of thing, and have folks be able to chat without having all the pressure of another hearing or the time. So, but we're open if you folks think that you'd prefer to have someone come along, we're open to that. So think about that. You don't have to commit tonight. We got a couple of weeks here, week and a
It's
half.
just next week.
Next week. Frank.
Oh, wow.
Week from
Okay.
tomorrow.
Well, we got 7 days.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I think I just need directions to Appleton Field.
Oh, boy.
I don't know where.
I'll figure that out and get that to everyone,
All right.
No, thank.
where to park and where to walk to.
All right. And then we'll get a list together of folks that are coming, so we make sure we have plenty to eat. All right.
Good.
I think that's it.
Yep, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope.
One more quick one. We have some folks that want to donate some land. It's up off of Summer Street. They've been asking for a couple of years to get this done. I reached out to them and said I'd try to walk the property sometime in the next week or so. I don't know if anybody else has any time available to do that. It's probably gonna be a little bit of a walk in the woods.
Whose land is it?
Well, let's just say we have a piece of land that's being offered. And if you're interested, then we'll take a look.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I probably could be available Monday through Thursday during the week after 3, because I'll be out of work at that point.
Okay. All right.
I'm open to be there.
Okay. All right. Let me see what I can set up with you two guys. All right.
Cool.
Penny, if you want to go, I'll give you the secret pass.
I know.
All right. Okay. That's it. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor? I can't remember who made either. I think Penny made the
Penny and
motion.
Brendan.
So all in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Night.
Thank you.
Night.
Night.